Now, without further ado, the author of the play, should I say JC Scharl?
Doesn't matter.
JC Scharl!
Hi folks, thanks for coming. I wrote a little thing. I'm going to read part of it. It's not really about the play, it's more about the form of the play. So this is a verse drama. It's a philosophical verse drama, which is an odd form. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why it's in this form. And then you can watch the play, and then if you have more questions, you can ask me afterwards. But hopefully it will speak for itself. That's the point. So humans have used dialogue to work out our philosophical problems ever since we started writing. Job is one of the earliest pieces of literature that we have, and it's essentially a verse play, if you read it that way. It's got very long speeches and very few dramatic interludes, but it really is set up like a play, with scenes and dialogue and characters. Plato and Xenophon both wrote their philosophy in dialogue form, and some of those dialogues have real dramatic force. You could stage the apology of Plato and it would be compelling. During the Reformation, apologists on both sides couched their arguments in dialogue form, which had varying degrees of dramatic value. So some of them were kind of just people beating each other over the head with ideas, but some of them are actually really dramatic and engaging plays. So the interplay of drama, verse, and philosophy took on kind of new dimensions in the 20th century, where you had an existentialist philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre, writing plays. You had a poet, T.S. Eliot, writing philosophical dramas, and you had a playwright, Samuel Beckett, writing poetic philosophical dialogues for the stage. So these three genres of philosophy, drama, and poetry are really closely connected. And what these works have in common is that they're all set against the backdrop of a mystery. So there's a genre called medieval mystery plays. And in a sense, all poetic plays are mystery plays. So you see Job unfolding against the question of why evil befalls righteous people. Plato's Socrates, and also his other interlocutor named the Stranger, who's only in, I think, one or maybe two. Is he in one? Or two plays? Just two? Okay. So they're both enamored of the mystery of ultimate reality. So what is? It's a big mystery. In Hans Sachs' pro-Luther dramas of the Reformation, he's seeking to equip undereducated Protestants with biblical tools to use against Catholic theologians while discussing the mystery of authority. So Sartre, Eliot, and Beckett are all wrestling with the mysterious collapse of traditional ideas of human nature post-World War I and World War II. So really, when you see these genres coming together, you know there's something going on behind the scenes. The thing that's going on here, though, is that the dialogue form lends itself to a moral mystery. It's not necessarily that by the end of the dialogue, we're going to have clarity on the mystery. We've solved the problem. It's much more about creating what literary critics call ambiguity, which simply means that it's creating room for paradox. So for two things that don't seem to be able to coexist in a dramatic or dialogue situation, those things are forced to coexist, and then you see what happens. So in a treatise, you see the philosopher having to take a stand. That's the bargain he's made with the audience in choosing to write a treatise. He says, I have something to say. But in a dialogue or a drama, two speakers or three or four who are exploring a mystery, they can say two or three or four contradictory things, which you even see that in Plato. As his Socrates develops throughout the dialogues, he is actually contradicting himself. He will make a statement, and two dialogues later, he's contradicting that statement. It's much more complex than in an Aristotelian form, where Aristotle is actually working on an idea to a conclusion. It's not what you see happening in a philosophical dialogue. And in a dialogue, you can have that paradox without destroying an audience's trust, because they haven't come to expecting an answer. They've come to expecting a mystery. So you could have God is good, and everywhere the innocent suffer. Both of these things are true. In a treatise, you have to find a way to put them in relation to each other. In a dialogue, what you're really trying to do is explore how do we live in the paradox of these two true things that don't seem to fit together. So dialogues are almost always moral philosophy. It's not really an attempt to unravel the mystery. It's an attempt to say, in light of this mystery, how are we supposed to live? So that kind of imaginative inference from a philosophical dramatic dialogue or a drama, a play, it can, I believe, lead to a clearer and more powerful understanding of the mystery than a straightforward argument can. So that's the task of the philosophical verse dramatist, is to not decipher a mystery, but to find a right way of living in relation to it. Hopefully that sets you up a little bit with what you're about to get to see. Really briefly, there are three historical characters here. You've most likely heard of one of them, John Calvin. Probably a lot of you have heard of Ignatius of Loyola. Most people have not heard of Francois Rabelais. Interestingly, in their time, it would have been the opposite. Everyone would have heard of Rabelais. Some people would have heard of Ignatius. No one would have heard of John Calvin. So that's an interesting dynamic too to keep in mind as you watch this. Who wins in history and in the play? There might be different answers. So brief introduction to them and then a word on the characterization. John Calvin was a Protestant raised in France, living in Geneva, which at the time was still France, right? It wasn't Switzerland yet?
No, it was Switzerland.
It was Switzerland, okay. And he was, I've chosen to depict him as in his youth, and he had a very tempestuous youth because his father was pretty didactic, and would tell him, this is what you're going to study, and then 2 years later, no, you're going to study this, and was just sort of jerking him around. His father was absent, he was a merchant, so he was gone most of John Calvin's childhood. And you can see in the young John Calvin a sense of indecision and even deep depression. You see this in his early letters, of which we actually have a fair number, which is fun. So I've chosen to depict him at this period of his life. So you might know John Calvin later. This might be a fresh John Calvin to you. Ignatius of Loyola, he was from the Basque region of Spain. He was a noble, trained as a warrior, fought in many battles, wanted to be a famous knight-errant and have tales written about him, got hit in the leg with a cannonball at a battle, almost died, and was crippled actually for the rest of his life. While he was recovering, his mother, who was very devout, crept into his room, stole all of his novels, and replaced them with religious pamphlets. So he woke up, and all he had to read were Marian literature and the New Testament. So he was a voracious reader, he read all these things, ended up having a dramatic conversion, went and became a priest, and founded the Jesuits, which was a powerful anti-Reformation Catholic movement. So you have John Calvin, kind of a Reformation founding father, Ignatius of Loyola, a counter-Reformation figure. They actually, in real life, spent time at the same college in the Sorbonne in Paris. So they probably did, in fact, interact in real life. This third fellow, Francois Rabelais, he's a French comic novelist, very dirty. If you do not run out and buy his novel, you might fall in love with him from this and think, oh, I'm going to be a Rabelais person. You can be, but I am. In his novel, there is a 3-page chapter where the whole thing is a young boy running around trying to figure out what the most comfortable version of toilet paper is for after you defecate. So he tests all these different things and scientifically documents what's the best thing to use. The conclusion is that it's the warm neck of a live goose in its downy face. It's the ideal situation. So this is Rabelais, okay? And when the guy writes, it can be, sentences that last for pages. He's got these 400- or 500-page novels. Literally nothing happens. It's just people wandering around making lists of ridiculous stuff. So he's a whole character in his own right. He was denounced by the Protestants, denounced by the Catholics. His books were placed on the banned list from the Vatican, but he never left the Catholic Church. He was a faithful Catholic till he died, even though he was getting run out of town after town after town by Catholic authorities. All the Protestants, including John Calvin, denounced him for not leaving the Catholic Church. Calvin actually has this great scathing letter that he wrote to Rabelais later in their life, saying, "You are such a hypocrite, I hope you go to hell." I mean, these guys were not good to each other. The rhetoric of the Reformation was pretty top-notch. So Rabelais was an absolute live wire. Nobody knew what was going to be next. He influenced literature more profoundly than anyone in a 500-year period. For 150 years after him, everyone was writing in the style of Rabelais. Everyone. And then, gone. Nobody reads him anymore. Nobody tries to imitate him. He was, in a strange way, a flash in a pan. And then there's this small group of people throughout history who sort of tried to preserve the treasury of Rabelais. And someday, you all will want it again. So he's this really strange character, and he wandered in and out of Paris. So in the play, they all end up together. It's not, we don't know if that happened, but in the play, they all do. The setting is the 1520s. It's in Paris on Mardi Gras, which is the last day of the great feast of Carnival. At midnight, Lent will begin. These three characters are out and about. They are supposed to have gone to confession already, because that's what you're supposed to do on Mardi Gras, but none of them have. So that's the beginning of our play. These are not the historical characters, but I did do a lot of research, and they all have resonances with their historical types. So, I hope you enjoy, and if you have questions afterwards, find me. Thank you for coming.
Scene 1. Chapel of the Collège de Montaigu, Paris. Evening of Shrove Tuesday, sometime in the 1520s. Heard overhead, ringing the end of vespers, bells. Vague figures scurry through the chapel square. Shadows thrown upstage by paper figures drawn in front of footlights.
Look, what's this? An ugly pair as far as I can see, past prayer, with improvement. Frere Jacques. Such downcast eyes at this o'clock upon the feast? Ding, ding, ding. Ignatius. Feastal bells are ringing. Ding dong, Jean. I see. Sanctity shines upon each face. Come you straight from the Shrove Day Mass?
You, at least, do not.
What's this? Do you mean to question if I could come from Mass all vested head to toe in blood? That's what this is, and how I came to strut about all decked in it is a tale to match the doctrine which I do perceive you, my friend, might dare to disbelieve.
I don't disbelieve, but I confess sometimes I wonder just what is meant by the body, and what signifies the blood.
The body means nothing other than itself. My friend, as I've said before, you complicate too much what is a simple mystery.
You make it seem so easy to believe.
Or rather to disbelieve. For if I disbelieve, that belief makes me belie the fitness of my sense. Faith, not that I question it, oh no. But once I doubt not this, I must doubt all, and else go without.
Then go without. And if by grace you manage to lose all but this, you'll be the richer for it.
Charming. A neat use of hyperbaton. Or was that transgressio? If anyone, of course, would know the difference, it's you. And keep going. Perhaps someday the headmaster will move you to the front of the class.
At least I know the difference between clothes that are fresh and those that reek with filth.
You mean my stained clothes? What of it? A stained hood is one slip from a sainthood. Come on, that was a little good, right? If a man's farce can't be his dignity, what hope has he? My farce is not too far from truth, too. It's plainly low and draws by plainness nearer to the truth than yours, which postures so by why such boring discourse on a feast day, when speech is least among the possible diversions. Time during the feast for all this speech and rhyme.
Says you, from whose tongue spills more speech than excrement runs from the sewers.
Excess is dullness. My own excess is so excessive that it drives me to nullness.
And that is the proper end to all who care not for the body, mind, or soul.
Care not for the bod, Jean. Don't flatter me. Imagine bringing a charge against good Rabelais of lack of love for all the bodies God has made.
I say this, if you tended to your soul with half the fervor you now lavish on other bodies, you truly could conspire to be the finest saint in all of Paris.
I preach nothing that is not found within the creed.
And what teach you from there?
The resurrection of the body.
Blaspheme somewhere else, you brute. I've no time or patience for you.
What? Does John Calvin deny the creed? The paramount importance of the body? Gnostic. Apostate! Very farts stink of heresy.
And yours smell of beans and sausage, which is worse by far.
Oh, the tame wolf can still bite. Worse than Jean's heresy. A rank insult to his heresy. Heresy's worthless unless it's done full force. A heresy by halves is merely coarse. What are you looking for so carefully among the fragrant muck? It's quite a rare and potent blend. I can guarantee I've contributed my bit to it. But even connoisseurs of swill like me don't often go down to their knees to inspect it.
Have you lost something, Ignatius?
I have. A thing precious to me, a treasure, handed down, trusted to me alone, and now mislaid by me alone.
What is it? We'll help you look, though what of worth we hope to find in this filth.
Correction.
I cannot think.
Correction. Jean will help. I have already too much knowledge of these gutters. I say that sludge, I wouldn't step in it too deep.
Shut up, Francois! What have you lost?
A knife.
The very one you showed us?
Showed to me, you weren't interested.
Yes, the one that I showed to you, and by that willful pride I've lost it. Now for good, I fear. I showed it here, in this very square, but in putting it away, my hand must have slipped. This is what comes of boasting. All the careful skill of patient craftsmen, honed flawless over years to reach their zenith of elegance and use, and then a flash of pride, and all is lost.
It'll turn up. Don't you fear. Birthrights, legacies, inheritances, fights, hatreds, grudges, spats, customary disdain, all the proud pedantry of Spain. It will take more than a jest and inattention to lose that bequest.
Would you insult my heritage, you who have none to speak of? Let me test my fist upon your face. We'll soon find out how much your base-born blood is worth.
The honor that deflates with such a gentle prick belongs, I dare say, to a most ungentle
This
prick.
is no way to usher in the fast. And in the very churchyard, for shame.
It's true. I beg your pardon, John. From you, Francois, I'll beg nothing. But in Lenten charity, I'll grant you pardon for the insult to my family and my pride.
The honor is all mine.
Francois, desist. Must you kindle this quarrel while on your clothes the red of some other fight still burns?
Oh, don't assume this crimson is my blood, for you'd be wrong. No, listen here. The tale is good and plenty rough, though I've not yet been in a fight. There are mysteries afoot this carnal night, and since the Lenten feast is not yet quite upon us, though her smothering breasts dangle above, and since the tale I have to tell is better with profane ale than sacramental wine, blood, as Jean here would protest too much.
I'd not protest some poison if it could, but for a moment stop your tongue.
Ignacio!
The dagger's not here, I am sure. I'll look about me as we go, and by some merry chance upon it.
Well, step lively then. Let's ride our fortune now as far and hard as she'll take us. Or as far, at least, as yonder alehouse. Come. Hold a chair. All right, interruptuses, of course, forbid, but not for procrastinatious. Let's pause amid this rut of ours and have a good hard think.
You're sure you're not drunk already?
I am not. Sure, I mean.
I am. We all know how Francois holds his beer. From our straight progress, I conclude you're as sober as, if not a judge, at least a lawyer. Why this hesitation? Let's go.
The crowd down there gives me pause.
It's only Mardi Gras festivities. We've all seen worse before with these poor folk taking their feast before the long, long fast, with each glimpse of a mirror, I would guess.
Why must everything be so dramatic with you? Is it some aristocratic impulse to stage choreographed battles and make these grave assertions? We poor chattel have no time for these self-immolations. This way, let's quench your ornastic ire with ale and sudden jesting by the fire.
Rather, let's go this way, down to where there are fires and revelries to join.
Oh, yes, to join, but not like this. Shame to join a merry band that has traveled far into its cups without even taking a single step upon the road ourselves. Why, I am behind even you two, who have drunk deeply of the heady wine of sanctity. I know a place down the street and to the left where we can feast in peace and lap those sotted dogs down there in their own race before we run against them.
Why should we go into some gloomy alley when doubtless there are countless inns down there where the only shadows are those flicking from the rowdy fire in the grate, and the busy tongues of flames are outstripped only by the tongues of merry maids?
Oh, what's this? Does our Jean sing of maids? That's more my tune. But please, before more talk, I'm parched, my eyes mist, my sight fades. Get me to beer while I can still walk.
Are you still set upon that squalid hole?
Oh, the finest spirits is often found within the dustiest bottle bound.
Look, just there, a better spot. Bright and warm, where we can drink and lift the burden from our feet without waiting for some cut purse to lift the burdens of our wallets.
Hush, hush, John, for here is the very scene. Now, the revelation. I have not been quite frank with you. You are here on false pretenses and for dramatic purposes. Now commences my story. It's here that I obtained my coat of many colors. Here's the tale. I was coming down this way, full of joy, and light as day, and at that bend, just where the street's all mud, I slipped and went down hard, and there, voila! I found the miracle of Mardi Gras. The very rocks there are dripping blood.
You're telling me that you slipped and fell, and you cut your hand and dragged us here to tell us of your clumsiness? I've no patience left for this.
Wait. There's something in his tone. Francois, face me. What's this, my friend? Beneath the mud, a pale face. Behind the jest, your hands are shaking. What has frightened you in this way?
He's not afraid, he's drunk. Let's go.
I'm drunk with neither wine nor fear. Now I regret I brought you here. If you insist on making of this farce something more than a slip and a sore arse.
Stay. Something is wrong.
Ignatius, let's go. No one needs your heroic prating here.
Look, there. The whole street is slick with it. And ugh, that awful smell.
This whole alley is foul.
But not with rain or refuse. See that mass?
A heap of garbage.
A pile of filth from feasting.
Neither of those.
A mound of scraps.
A load of refuse. Isn't this fun?
No. It is none of those. I've seen that shape before, cold and huddled up and small upon the battlefield. It is none other than a human body.
A body here, and we...
And we here too, and brought here.
By a fool, you're right. I stumbled, saw it, and took fright.
Why did you bring us here?
Well, when I met you two, I had the thought to bring you here to drive my overwrought frightenings away, but now...
Now we three are here. This corpse all slick with gore is here, and with us one...
Whose hands do drip with blood.
Scene 2.
Don't touch it! Leave it be!
I've seen 100 men, no, more, in their death spasm, I fear.
Death belongs to God, not to his servants. Do not touch that body. What is written there is not for you or me to read.
We have a doctor here, Francois. Won't you at least look for at least sparks of life in this dark place?
No, thank you. I declare that body is dead. In these plague-shot days, I keep my head and hands quite well away from street-bound corpses.
Someone's hands, it's clear, are not clean. What is writ here is not of God. Quite plainly, this is no natural death.
I sensed that too when I first came upon it. The streak all darkly slicked, but not from rain. The stench rising from the cold ground like steam upon a frozen midden. The angle of the corpse's repose, hands clutched around a scrap of cloth.
I do not see those things from here.
No? Oh well, it must have been lighter then.
You said you did not know a body lay here until now.
Did I? It's hard to say just what one knows when one is in such a state of grim repose.
Did you see it?
Did I see what?
The body. Did you see the body when you first passed this way?
Did I see the body? Oh, that body. It's hard to say. I don't know. It was dark.
You said it was lighter then.
I know beyond a doubt I tripped on something. See my hands? These stains are not from nothing. Might that body have been it?
You said before you slipped, not stumbled. Those are not the same.
A stumble of the tongue, sure.
Your tale is changing with the telling.
Which is it, Francois? Slip or stumble? Sight or no sight? Corpse or no?
Which is it, Francois?
What is this? Can it be that you suspect me of this?
We are only asking questions, Francois.
Why? Would I, if guilty of this thing, bring you here to where the body lies, and so embroil myself upon this crime, which I could so easily have swept myself elsewhere, and none the wiser why?
Why do you do anything that you do?
I hope that's one of your obnoxious endless philosophical considerations on the nature of the will.
It is.
The nature of the will's irrelevant. What we have here to deal with, the deed.
Only one letter removed from the dead.
This is no joke, Francois! If Ignatius has done what you've done, I think as you would have us think. But you, if you had found yourself mixed up in something beyond you, you'd do just what you've done. Drag others into it, implicate us all in your disaster.
Come, what's this? Why, I look from face to face and I am shaken. Can it be that you two would describe such a deep and dreadful schemes to me as never I in my most grandiose imaginings could ever invent? Do you in soberness believe that I, here in a fit of rage or pique, or something?
Or liquor.
Or touched honor.
High spirits.
High ideals.
Stop. My tale tells itself, I see. So at first glimpse of an unknown corpse, you two, my friends, dare presume that I, for some dark motive, utterly obscure and unsupposed, did murder in his tracks a breathing son of the Most High? And further, you presume that I left the body in its blood like a heap of laundry dropped in the mud? And finding myself swilled from head to toe, I went out from this profane place, indeed, straight to the church, where, coming upon you two, I did implore, nay, beseech, nay, compel you both to come with me, against the will of Mr. Chauvelin, mind you, Magister, to the very place of the foul deed. Do you find this conceivable?
Aye.
Madness. You ascribe to me more maddening madness than I venture to ascribe myself. What shall I do to prove my truth? See here, to show my worthy of the madness you would foist upon me, yet innocent. Behold, I, bedecked in blood, will go and march into that much-discussed tavern to report our find, for that is what any innocent would do. By bearing my red marks of guilt, my innocence I'll earn.
Francois, stop!
Did you see how flagrant, how uncouth the blood blazed upon his shirt? What will they think in there? Even suppose they don't assume him guilty, surely they all will think him mad.
There's madness enough in the streets tonight. If he keeps his head, goes straight to the proprietor, and speaks his news forthrightly and with calm, perhaps his courage will acquit him.
Should it?
Do you think he's guilty of this death?
How should I know? We find him bloodied, his words even wilder than his wont. He seizes us, won't let us go. He shouts of heresy and guilt. He drags us to this spot where he tells us many different tales, none quite easy with the others. Then he takes hold of our misgivings and, turning it to an accusation, gives it the words we hadn't said, then plunges off to clear himself of a charge that no one brought but himself. You call this innocence?
It's clear that there's more at work here than we know. But to conclude that he who flees before the face of mystery is guilty shows scant charity.
What are you doing?
I'm going after him.
With what intent? To hold him for justice?
If I must. Anyway, to stand beside him, as I hope a friend would stand beside me in trouble.
You'll be caught up in his guilt, I think.
I am already. And in my right, plenty guilty of much worse than I suspect our friend Rabelais bedecked with. Besides, this stinks of an adventure, such as I've not had in years. And like a bloodhound, once I've got the stench of exploit in my nose, I cannot turn aside from trailing, no matter, though, what foul ground I have to go. Come with me, Jean. If we forsake the trail now, imagine how we'll always wonder where it led.
I do not wonder. I know. All these trails that lead out from the hearts and minds of men lead only one place. Death. Eternal, which haunts us from within our very souls. Leave him to his guilt and look to yours. Why should I look for death and danger there, when within I carry all I need to set the seal of my own damnation?
To set within your soul the bounds of hell, that is in itself a caustic sort of pride.
Don't twist my words to match your tune. If God should choose to save my soul, so be it. But I'll not amass more sins than I must.
Come now, don't be petty, Jean. For something good, let's go and fight.
Don't you try to persuade me. I know you. I know your sophistic ways. Battles deep into your soul. And though you left behind the fields of Spain, you will never leave the fight. That is the very secret of your soul. It can never change. How it deceives, and none more than itself. But what we love is what we've always loved. And what we are is what we love. And you, the warrior of Loyola, rake and soldier, jaunty, proud. Yes, I see how you have tried to change, to cast down your own words, to bank the battle fire in your heart. Well, I've seen the fire in your eye when talk at table turns to quarrel, when lines are drawn, sides are picked. Though you bite your tongue to blood, still you're most alive.
Should I be ashamed to seek to change my nature?
Rather, you ought to despair.
That is not the church's saying. There is always the hope of grace.
Grace, yes, but grace to change? Grace to turn this ruin of a man, a bodied thing, to good? St. Paul bids us wear our bodies like garments, to be cast off at the end of days. And when I fling mine off, I hope I'll find within not one thing that I recognize.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps we put too much stock in change. Our God, in whose image we are made, does not change. And to say we are free in some way he is not would be a heresy. But think on this. Once he took on flesh, he who had none, and once he took on flesh away with him into the very Godhead, which before that instant had within itself nothing like that flesh.
Do you say God changed?
I don't say that, but it does not seem he stayed the same.
That redemption, coming by the incarnation, was forever wrought ages before time and space began their dreadful turns.
Unchanging, change accosts us, never changing.
There it is, the famous Spanish sophistry. It's clever, but such craft does not impress me. So the ancients reasoned. And where are they now? Borne away by time and change into the night.
This talk avails us nothing. These are mysteries. And I, for one, will let my mother church bear that burden for me. Right now, there's action to be born. I'm no use for those who dawdle, 1 foot in and 1 foot out of life. Come or go, and with your choice, abide. But send the night watch if you can. As for me, I will go.
Alone again. My body flaps around me like a loose jerkin. My mind turns and turns upon itself. Rest? Impossible. Rise? Unthinkable. My soul is weary beyond thought, beyond decision, beyond action. How can he speak of free choice? How bid me to abide? There is no choice. There's only a restless flinching from pain to pain. The spirit cannot settle, but collapse for a time, panting till the pain becomes less bearable than the struggle. These two, these rebel angels, these blessed devils that inflame my soul. One makes action seem so simple, the other guilt so trivial. How magnificent they joust. With error, they grasp the tempter's blade with their bare hands and draw it laughing towards them. Do they not know the edge is poisoned? Perhaps that is the only truth behind all choice. We are already damned, saved only by the dread whimsies of God. Perhaps our errors avail nothing. If I go, I cannot return to this place, but if I stay, that place will itself be swept away to where I cannot follow. All grasped or ungrasped is forever borne away. So, what avails my choice? What avails?
Scene 3. Within the tavern. Rabelais is sitting at a table, hunched over a tankard of beer. An empty tankard is in front of him, and 2 more drinks sit before 2 other seats. Ignatius, who has evidently just finished speaking, stands beside the table. When Rabelais sees Jean enter, he straightens and shouts.
Ho, ho! Our third has come. Our little band's complete. I beg you, Jean, please reprimand me once again. Without the toothsome pangs of your sore conscience, my guilt has lost its tang.
Hush! If your conscience does not clamor on its own, there's nothing I can do.
I admit, this buoyancy is not what I thought to find in you, Francois.
Oh, yes. You thought to find me pale and shook by dread of my damned frailty.
Hush! Not 300 steps from here, there is a body dead, and no account of it, save that you also were there. What came you of your much trumpeted confession?
Well, things change. Oh, how they've changed. Circumstance circle round me like the skirts of women dancing, and how can I refuse to take a turn or two?
You've said nothing yet of what's outside.
Hush, friend, have some pity on a man's faint-heartedness, and don't fear. We'll not leave him till necessary words are said. That I swear on my good name.
Yes, hush. All in good time. For all time is good time. Delicate and small and precious as a lady. I'll let your swift fancy see where it can get. Perhaps another grim discourse will shock me into my penitence. Wait, I took the liberty of ordering for you. Jean and ale, nondescript but true. For a bold Spaniard, a Spanish wine. At least it's a wine, and after it is greased to Spaniard's lips, it will be a Spanish wine. Come, drink, and then we shall dine. To what shall we drink? To women, wine, and song will not go down easy in this throng. I think, and to the church is no more the simple joy it was. To merest orthodoxy, preservation of the saints, the hope that grace may one day deign to paint our souls like theirs. Oh, we simply toast that the gratuity of God, that most lurid, bloody, gross, exquisite body thing, the resurrection of the body.
A strange toast, but one that I will make with all my soul.
But this toast does not demand your soul, nor your mind, however fine that is, senor, nor even your will. It necessitates your body. The slow, or not so slow, flex of muscle in your shoulder, the bending of that splendid joint we call the elbow, the busy lips to tighten on the rim, the tongue to the cup, the throat to pull, to say nothing of the million other members laboring at once. The heart beating, lungs heaving, buttocks flexing. Cock strutting, gut burbling, nostrils sucking, trunk holding, eyes beaming, ears hoarding, skin containing, defining, defending, maintaining, holding the frontier of this strange country. All this while your tongue takes joy of taste, your eyes of sight, your ears of song, all this. Can you do it? Can you raise this toast, Ignatius? Can you raise it to Jean Cavon?
Hush! You may flaunt your name about this place, but I'd rather mine be silent.
It's too late. I noted your name specially with the keep when I got your drinks.
Why? You fool! Why do you insist upon embroiling us in your disgrace?
It was ill done, Francois. Recall, we're here on a grave matter. For us, Mardi Gras has not begun.
No matter my guilt, I will not miss my feast.
You're no fool, but a devil.
And you, tell us, what exactly are you?
A fool whose greatest crime was following his devil.
Oh, how about your crime of being born? The crime no man, save one, can forgive. How of that black mark running through the soul to like treacle through a sweet Easter bread? Dung runs even from the ass of decent men. If you stop the flow, what's left? Death!
Leave him alone. It's not his crime that we must speak of now.
Isn't it? Shall you tell him, Jean, or shall I? Or will you? Or somebody?
Tell me what?
I'd rather hear the story from your lips, Jean. I fear I do it no justice, and justice is what's needed here, among just us.
What is he babbling about, Jean?
Behind his swarm of words there's something hid, though how he found it out to hide it so I don't know.
I'm like God that way, or a magician. You don't reveal my secrets.
Must you blaspheme? Aren't things bad enough without that?
How is that blasphemy? We do partake in certain attributes of God, and to make a mystery where one was none is one of them. I do not speak in fun, I mean it. And I say he is not said himself, or hinted, or said not.
To speak of God as a cheap magician, doing pranks to beguile and deceive us, is neither safe nor wise. God's no trickster. On that I've staked my soul.
Oh, tell scientists and philosophers this news. In fact, tell the church.
God in his kindness lets us deceive ourselves. He won't trick us. But if our hearts beg for it, he won't stop us being tricked. But if you won't reveal the method of your magic, at least tell us your tale straight.
Wait, for it is mere idle gossip. I beg you for your own sake to refrain, since to repeat such a rumor is sin.
Oh, thanks for your consideration, Jean, and be at peace. Be still and listen on to what I have to say. For what I spend here is my own coin, and I will lend it to you gratis. Indeed, all I have to share is this. And when with you I have it, you'll see how little it really is. Listen, I entered this fine inn, my admission hot upon my lips, and thought to cool it with a little wine. And as a rule, I only drink when I'm alone, and knowing you, my brothers in the bone, could not be far behind, I told the keep to be on the lookout. And I heaped up your descriptions to the very roof, so that the good man would not be mistook, and give your drinks, these very drinks, to someone else. And when I sketched out with my tongue the virtues and appearances of my good friend Jean, pardon me, my script has gone far away.
49.
Thank you. But when I sketched out with my tongue the virtues and appearance of my good friend Jean, and scrubbed the grubby wood of the bar, and said, "Now, isn't that the man just been here an hour? Sat right here, and what did he do but demand as many pours of wine as I would stand?" Of course I pressed him, not wishing to believe ill of my friend. And what did I receive but a description that nearly convinced me? And so I, hot on this trail, trail, set my own griefs aside, and schemed with him, and said he'd make a sign if the man at some point sneaked back to this place. So hard did I hammer that sign into his stony head, I warrant he'll make it a year hence. So, having built my plan upon that solid rock, I waited. Loyola burst upon us like a flame, no sign. But when our good man Jean, the same, peeped in, muffled like a courtesan, behold, the mountains moved. Falls the sign like lightning, and when it fell, my haste to clear my own name until Jean's career be told. And now I'd like to hear about this Jean, since it is your ass that is dangling out.
Jean, you've heard your accuser. What's your plea?
Must we now give an account of every drink in every unknown bar in Paris?
But that's just it. Our good barkeep, though slow as stone, keeps a handy book and swears he has never bestowed credit on an unknown face, so help him. This paragon of care showed me careful tally on the wall, marked in chalk, and it says your account. A lengthy record. A cold reminder that all we do is noted down somewhere. The tab for today is a hefty 5 or 6 cups put down fast. To my mind, no man drinks like that for peace and quiet. He either riots in festive spirit or he's plunged in cares. But he's not easy in his soul.
What of it, Jean? Answer me straight. Do you know this place? If so, why feign ignorance of it?
Of course I know it. It is my haunt, the sickbed of my soul, which I thought to keep an utter secret. Of course it was you two who found it and came crashing in, throwing up the shades and tramping with your muddy boots upon this, my spirit's bedsore, who blunder in and peer and paw over the filthy, tender trinkets that I keep tucked up. Can a man keep his secrets at least until the day of judgment? Yes, this is my little hell, my private nook in the abyss. Come in, let me show you the place. I'd say make yourselves at home, but you've already done so. And rightly, for that is the only way this place could be worse for me than it was before.
In such a hell, I am flattered to receive such a hail.
Well, welcome, I suppose. We're all bound up together now, or always have been, bound up and wound up together in fate's mesh, which is always winding in, no single thread raveling out, but rather in, all things drawn in, caught and pulled tight, and held within the ball of fate.
Imagine the balls of fate. And to think I always thought fate was a woman. This changes things. I see him now. Sagging fate is scratching at his woolly balls.
Fate is a woman, and her name is not Fate, but Wisdom. She neither weaves nor winds, but delicate embroiders upon the sheet another spreads before her.
Or over her. I hear she is beautiful.
You could not see Wisdom's beauty if she stood before you in the flesh, you blackguard.
I know. That simple truth, I know. And that may be all the difference between you and I. That this, I know.
And such knowledge is nothing to boast of. Jean, you knew about this place and hid it. An odd lie, a shameful one, but one I can take pity on. Strong mind and weakling soul are ever uneasy partners. And such a yoking seems to be your burden.
Don't let him escape so easily. He'll snatch the chance to try to flee, poor wee man. But yoke this way, and he'll not outrun his demons. See him sweating there? Ah, there's more to this, yes, and Mercy says we wring it out despite his distress. Come, Jean, undress your soul. Fling the rags of duress off, and let your guilty stew, you mildew.
He's right, I haven't told you all.
You'd be a tasty morsel for an inquisition. My proposition, my guilty soul, and more so than you can think possible. But no inquisitor can keep up with this poor soul's confessables.
Hush, don't invoke them.
You mean don't provoke them?
Come, confess. I'll inquisite you, and gently, as the soul requires. Though with what seal I can close this case, I cannot say till after.
It is not man's I crave, but still, if any trace remains in man of God, may not man's forgiveness too show his, however scant. I've confessed, often alone, and to a priest and by the altar, and not once has my burden been lightened. Anywhere but square on me. How could it harm to offer what I've done to you, my soul's only devils in the flesh?
I've been called worse. Tell on. Pay up, good John. I swear your words will stand in this court as legal tender.
Tell on, but only if your conscience bids. Else save it for the confessional.
It's little. Here I set, not quite fully sodden, in my spirit, the dread mysteries of crushing weight. And here, I heard, even from there, that very seat, I heard a cry, not loud, but loud enough, that should have pricked me to the quick, but could scarce penetrate. Yet in spite of all, I heard, clear as bells, of consecration on my ears cut off. One shout for help, then nothing. Before my wits could cut their way through thought, 'twas gone. But when the broken body I beheld, my spirit reeled. For once again I heard that cry for help, and once again I turned away. What guilt is mine that I by one movement might have saved?
Well, this is a turn that even I did not suspicion to suspect.
Pure Jean, pure accusatory Jean. It's clear we're deeper sunk in this than any of the three of us imagined.
For if the mighty Jean hath fallen, no amount of care will clear the rest of us.
We pick the scab, and fouler grows the wound. Each step just sinks us deeper in the mire. Therefore, I dread to say what I will say, for what foul depths we have not reached, I don't aspire to say. But this I say. By some chance, we three have fallen deeply in this death. And I could not walk easily beside myself on the morrow, did I not hazard now one more look, one final inquisition of this body. Clues for justice, maybe, or even just to find a name for which to offer up our prayers. Who's with me? Who will come and face this death with me?
I will do nothing to escape my guilt, which is as real as if I wielded the fateful blade myself. If by my gaze even one atom of this world may be less damned, I'd look all my day full in the mouth of hell.
Of course I'll go. But I miss the next act of our strange drama, where I expect we'll find the dead shall rise, or shall not rise. The moon is blood, or merely a virgin, and we'll know once and for all, or not at all, what mean these bodies are born with. Would I miss this? Not for all of France, or an eternity of bliss. I spoke boldly then and rather well, but I see now it was the wine that spoke and not me. Someone else, please take the lead. Our streets themselves are hell tonight, the emptiness cluttered with the specter of what lies before us all. The streets walk with death. Someone, please lead.
Francois, I'm shocked. If I had to guess, your pet heresy, superstition, were not it.
Well, you had me pegged as a doubter, didn't you? But even the most faithful can't deny his debt to doubting Thomas. Because he did, how many of us need not spar our bout with doubt? But no, I am devout in my own way. Don't begrudge me my Frankish fantasies, up here where the winter deaths do not decay, but merely freeze and thaw until the flesh burns and flesh binds the bone like cords to the cold earth. Up here we know how hideous it will be on the last day. And even if it lasts but half a moment, the haunted harvest where all flesh congeals around bones long crushed to dust, the resurrection of the body's awful. Yes, and dread. I hope I will be raised last and will miss all your rank regenerations.
We're here.
I see it. That vague dark patch low, just at the curve of the streets. It's still there. I half expected it would be gone. Come.
Look! Oh, how did I miss this?
The cry! I almost thought...
Behold, it is no man.
Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and yours too, you filthy celibates. It is our mother, our companion, our boon. It is a woman!
Scene 4.
It is a woman!
61.
And Ham looked on the body of his mother, naked.
A woman. How's this? This step past tragedy I did not foresee. The deeper depth, the darker dark, always there is worse than we have image of.
A woman! I wondered when I heard the cry from the befuzzlement of my dredges at its pitch and its pierce, and all my wonders now resolve as dread.
A woman?
Say no more obscenity is needed here.
Oh, hush, I'll warrant I know more of a woman than you boobies. With purer intent. Recall, I am a doctor, trained. All my fleshly fascination is forensic. At its core, my loves are scientific as well as succulent. There is an expert eye in this head yet, and that sees much.
This maid deserves in death the charity denied to her in life, even from you.
In my own way, I give this girl charity, for I look upon her flesh with care. I don't toss her cheerily underground like you, who would mesh in winding streets of prim convention this, her body, before it's long been cold, and wave away her own sweet carnal self, dismiss its ripes and rots together to the grave, in haste and hurry to forget. Sure, she will rot, and so will I. In charity, I will see her head to toe and bear the memory of her earthbound self with me till the last day until I follow her.
Let the maiden lie now with the decency you give your own mother, though I think this here is neither maid nor mother.
Maid she is certainly not, but mother, yes.
You know her then, Francois?
As he knows many such.
I know her, yes, but not as you two would have me. Must you forever be so copulatory-minded? There are more reasons for a woman's body than that one. See the pendulous small breasts? They've sucked a tiny mouth or two. And these pale tracks along the midriff? Well, for these the lady cried out for a midwife. Therefore, mother at least once, and in my professional opinion, more.
This is vile to talk so of a woman's body in her death. I beg you, cover this thing for its sake and ours.
Shortly, yes, but not yet. There's a tale here to be read by eyes that dare not fail.
You read the tale?
A simple enough one, yes. Stabbed once and well through the heart from the front. No fibers in the wound. She was wrapped at most in a cloak or a coat. Beneath that, nothing. Know either you of this place here? I do. By name only. A bawdy place of ill repute. An ill management where everyone fends for themselves, employing tooth and claw if needed. I can guess what happened here. this girl was cheated of what was rightly hers. If anything so ill-gotten can be rightly owned. And seizing her cloak, she pursued the rascal to the street and remonstrated, whereat he finished with his metal blade, the job he'd started with his carnal one.
The wretchedness of it, to abuse and then rob and then, when called to task, to kill.
Wait, Francois, you're light again. What is that?
Here, in the brightness. That is neither stone nor starlight. Yes, Jean, your eye is good. Here, don't touch it. Leave it. Let us see how it lies. As I perceive it, it is a blade, decked in blood as bloody as its rubied hilt. Pretty toy to dig up in an alley after dark, and yet I think, as I do mark it carefully, that I know this blade.
I too bear its shadow in my memory.
My God, it cannot be!
What is it?
My God, my father, and my homeland. This blade is ours.
Ours?
It is the blade of Loyola, the very one I lost yesterday. And to find it, the seal on my patrimony, here and away, and a place.
Yes, that is how I know it's the proud blade of Loyola, put in such a lowly task of assassination. I am surprised.
And I am grieved. Move aside, Francois. I will no more leave that blade lying there in the mud than I would leave my own mother or sister.
And yet that blade there felled a mother and sister not that long ago.
We can pause, but still the question must be asked. What know you of this crime?
And more to the point, what know you of this woman, who knows all too well your point?
I have no words to speak. I am all lost.
We will wait.
Are you always so cruel, or only to us?
Always to all of high and pompous heart, and to you as well.
This is a blow. I am shaken. I who saw my bone thrusting from my thigh there at Navarre and was unmoved. Now, by a gleam of blood upon a little blade, I am undone.
His astonishment seems real, and greatly to his credit. Come, tell us truly what you know. I'll not be mystified by it.
That is just it. I am all mystification. I know nothing of this. Nothing.
Come on, man. Think. When did you last see your little toy? And are we to lead you like a little boy?
As I said before, I saw it last when I showed it to you.
So, yesterday in the square, you say you put it away as usual?
I thought, and yet, today its absence has weighed heavily. And I confess, during the mass consumed my thoughts. This is no mere blade for use at table or in quarrels. This is a priceless Toledo steel, an emblem of a height of skill that only comes through God's own gift. It reveals God's gleaming nature, poured quick as light into the earth and left for us to find. It flinches not between any blade, but springs up beneath a blow like snow drips through the ice of winter. This blade was wrought for Loyolas of old, and for its all long days has remained fair until this day, when the filthy hand of man turned what all is good to dishonor. Do we leave no device of God unstained?
Oh, very interesting. But I'm curious that it took the sullying of your knife to bring this to your attention. Most of us suspected it long before, and even I, certainly slower than most, began to wonder when we came across that body. It seemed to me such a graver matter that now some girl's bound to her grave than that your knife got blood on it. But what do I know? I'm neither Spanish nor noble. The affairs of the paltry people weigh heavily on me. I cannot cast them off at the end of the day like an extra cloak.
You accuse me of callousness when all my heart's in pieces over this. I mourn my knife because it is lovely and pure. It is wronged. The very reasons I mourn this murdered woman. All things beautiful are also frail. The least brush with ugliness spoils them forever. The good can withstand grim battle with evil. Truth can wrestle chest to chest with lies. Yet beauty must have champions. She cannot wage her war alone. For her to enter the struggle is to lose.
Now there I don't agree. Rather, you've got it all backwards. She's a scrappy one, Beauty. The merest trace of beauty countermands the worst of things and seals for them a spot in paradise. If only cleaning out the pot.
You're both wrong. What does beauty have to do with this double obscenity? The body corrupted, and death, the great corrupter. Beauty's withdrawn herself so far from this, it is folly to discuss her. As helpful as mapping in that blood the skies above, the antipodes as to involve, beauty in this affairs of human sin.
73. Jumping around. What is
73?
73. You should just use work.
What a fool.
The French.
That's all fools. See, this just isn't fair.
I know.
That's your next line.
Talk amongst yourself. You know what? Alright. It was bigger print. I'm going blind. Alright. See, this just isn't fair. Plato would never have allowed dialogue like this. The danger of a three-way conversation is too acute. The dialectic loses all of its force. The third to speak will always seem to have the final word. How does one knock the third's thickness? If we ignore it by convention, it stands. But by responding, we would launch a new round of dialectic that must wind again its triple orbit, and that takes far too long for any normal patience. Never again shall I speak with two others. From henceforth I shall always demand either one or three interlocutors. And should I find myself in such a bag as this, I will demand either that one depart or a fourth one join us. What am I to do with such an idiot speech as that? Respond? Or change the subject and let you presume, abetted by the laws of discourse, that you have bested us? All I can do is laugh. But that response would be disordered at a time and place. So, against my judgment, I defer to you only by my silence. But do not tempt me more.
If that is your rebuke in silence, spare us your rebuke in speech.
We've wandered far, yet our feet are planted still on the cobbles dark with blood. And all around the city rants still in its fever. Above is the sky, which says nothing, but sees all. And within, what is within us three? I can only say that within me there rises guilt like a welt. For I, by the incorrigible arrogance of my house, did expose and boast of such a precious thing that ought not be flaunted in the square. And by this I placed into some murderer's very hand the weapon that slew this woman.
Sure, and I was nearest to the crime, very nearly in the midst of it. But I heeded the false cry of doubt, and did not, trusting God to save me, rise to save another.
And I.
And you.
What strange happening is this? Proclaim it, that after I am the least to blame.
The rabbit, who always finds himself a whisker from the springing trap, even if today he isn't caught, will surely end up in the pot.
Well, throwing my own rhymes back at me, are you? Well, your town birth shows you've no flair for country proverbs.
Of us three, I am the most to blame. And I most suspected you, Francois. So I have wronged you most. And most humbly now, I beseech your pardon.
Oh, it is a privilege to be wronged by such a lordly soul.
Oh, very, very fine. But the question remains, what shall we do?
We keep returning to that question, and it seems God at last has done with us and is sending our answer gratis. Look.
Lights. The watchman come.
And not alone, he's brought fellows. Well, brothers, let's drain this cup. It seems our secret's time is up.
The watch. This seems too strange for chance. Someone must have summoned them.
Devil.
Nay, an angel.
Jean, where are you going?
I must confess.
What? Did you kill that body?
Not that one, but mine own. And others I have sought to kill. And that body there I might have saved. But by my wretchedness, no grace but in atonement, and no atonement without I confess.
Hey, stop! He's gone off, the madman.
I recall another scene like this not long ago where a similar determination to confess revealed many other truths.
Sure, but that was me. I never meant to confess. Mine's a merry madness, easily contained, but his, there's danger there. Once that brand is lit, there's no telling what all it will burn.
We keep all things close and dark, but Jean, he longs for light. Even if it cost his soul, he would behold it. He's one who, if condemned to hell, would go willingly, provided he's seen the light. But you, if heaven were flung open to you, you'd skip the gates and scale the back wall as a matter of principle.
I cannot not resent you and your knowing tone, but there it is. Be still, I'm going. Of course, there is much I wish to keep concealed, and the best distraction I can wield from myself is certainly myself. You're right, I am going, but not to practice stealth, but to deflect. And not because you say, but because there's the center of the play.
What a foul night this is. Choices, countless wrung from us, and yet each one made for us. Little maid, what was it, I wonder, the choice you could not but choose to make? What the mire that held your feet upon a certain path? What veil shrank your sight, obscured your world, even as it made you choose, not spite but from your very blindness? After this night, can I proclaim myself different from you? I, who've long held that to act is the greatest thing. Action was my creed. Let no fate befall, but pull it down upon your head. But where does this leave you, little maid? Are you a victim? A villain? Was it my careless slip that flung this fate on you? I have sent so many to their graves without a thought. Men of action I hewed down and left. But you, lady, you have defeated me. By your death, most helpless, you have overthrown my life. For here beside your death, what can I do? What action can I perform? What exploit interpose for you? I, who've always had something to give, have nothing. I can only offer now to stay beside you, quietly, in this time and place, unmoving, present here in mind, body, and imagination. I give the best that I have, a lack of action, which for me is death, and for you bring all my force to bear at last on this last thing, on being still.
Hey, what are you doing? Get up! This is it. We've really drained the cup of time. Grab that knife. I know, it's bloody, but come on, let's go!
What is all this? Where's the watch? What's happened?
Exactly what you think. We found them, yes. And this innocent, this babe in arms, this precious soul disemboweled himself to them. Ha, ha! I long recall this sight. This good fellow blubbering out his tale before a ragtag peasant lot who fiddled with their sagging balls, deigning not to look at him, reproach him. I cannot say what is more gauche, Jean or the idiots he did approach.
And now they're in pursuit?
Far from it. They drove us away.
How's this?
They did not believe me.
Said he was drunk,
They told me that I stank
patted his head
and sent me home to bed.
like a child caught out too late.
It is a shameful fate.
So explain, why now this flight if your confession's gone awry?
Ah, yes. They disbelieve damn true, but not entirely. Even candlelight can tell the streets are hell tonight, and though they laughed at Jean, one or two I saw shook their heads. A few are coming close behind, and they expect mischief, I think, though not at our hands. Our wild efforts to incriminate ourselves for something we've not done, while also treading carefully not to lie, well, that dissonance convinced them first something was rather dreadful here, and second of our innocence.
I tried. I really tried. I sought to own without by falsehood adding to the score the culpability that's rightfully mine.
Under the law, you know, that's none.
As I've said all along! However, should that same disbelieving crew come round that corner, see there even now their torches flicker in reflection on the stone, and find not only Jean and I, but bone and blood in this slain girl, and more to find the knife that slew her, and what's more, find kneeling by her corpse the man who's known by many as that knife's proper owner, well, I think that even they would find some more questions to ask and more guilt to offer round.
So, after all, it comes to this. How strange that at the end, it's I who's forced to choose to stand or flee. Sin's wages are without proportion.
Your speeches always move me, but a speech now isn't what we need, unless it moves us far from here.
Oh yes, go. For me, I'll stay.
Loyola, the torches, look! Don't be heroic. This is no book. This is no game. For this you'll hang.
I care not for my death.
Neither would I, except I'll swear that you didn't do it. And I care a lot about protecting innocence, since that's always my last defense.
He's prattling, but he's right, Ignatius. Listen to reason. Come away and don't let matters take their course. Don't thrust a stick into the wheels of justice just to spare your pride.
Well, look at you. You're as convincing now as you were laughable before. How?
Very well. I'll come with you. Since that's your plea, though in the end it will only make things worse for me. But the knife stays here. Though it slay me, I'll not touch it.
But
Leave it to me. Our friend won't be undone by his false pride again. And that's it. Our time has come. We go, and leave justice to find its way however it can. Go! Go!
Scene 5. A bridge spans the Seine. Above, the moon. Below, the moon reflected in the reeking water.
are we away?
Far. And even more, we've put at least a few fair troops of revelers between ourselves and that grim place. We're away. The shadows past, my friends. We've mined the load of all our guilt and found no gems, just rock. Leave it behind. A tragedy. A shock. And yet, we've all paid our respects as best we could. You would aspire to arrest and trial for a death you heard mentioned in the street, or beg for a swift detention whenever you passed a funeral cortege. Would you? No. You'd cross yourself, pledge a mass or two if you were deeply touched, murmur a prayer, and go. If blame could clutch and hold us fast for every death, who could bear to live? Not I, plainly not you.
You're right. There's often little to be done in the face of death. It is a matter for God's justice. But you're also wrong. For this was no natural death. Here is a case for human justice. And that, I fear, we have not in our flight contrived to serve.
It's strange. I think Francois is right. After all, we really tried. We offered all we knew, and we were sent away. Don't you think, Ignatius, that you, the easy culprit, would have distracted justice from the truth? Perhaps it's better that we left.
At least, should they wish to question me, they have the knife. Though I've nothing to tell them that's not written on its blade.
Well, you've both now said I'm right, and I won't ask for more. Come, the fast draws nigh. The fast draws nigh, and we've not begun the feast. The night's not yawning. I've almost seen the dawn, and in the cockeyed crowds, I saw a yawn or two. Come, before the night is done, I wish to raise a cup and toast Manon.
Manon?
Who is Manon?
Manon, I know. Did I say Manon?
You said...
I know no woman of that name.
You said Manon.
You wish to toast Manon, you said.
You dullards misheard me.
We did not!
Manon, my mother's cousin is Manon. Manon of many yawns, we call her.
Stop it!
You knew her, you felon!
My mother's cousin, slightly, but...
That girl! You knew her, didn't you?
I knew he could not be as innocent as this.
Say it!
All right. I knew her.
How could I have been so taken in?
I never believed him, did I?
But only a little. Let me down, I beg. I met her once, in passing. She's a friend of a delicious laundress I know too well. Oh, how Aline can start to rough! But who in her lagresse sometimes let me walk beside her, only thrice the temptress. And on one of these occasions we met this Manon. I knew her when I first stumbled on the body, and I fled. My only thought was to betake myself as far from there as any fellow could, but I met you, and then it occurred to me. There'd be no better proof of innocence than to return, you two in tow, and cast relentless light upon the scene. I swear, now I've told all.
You sought to tangle us in your sordid affair, just as I said.
My only fault was stumbling upon you, the only men in Paris guiltier than I am.
Save one, I hope.
Yes, save one.
So?
So what? It is clear what must be done to end this most disastrous night.
Is it?
Yes, is it?
It is! You'll think me rigid, no doubt, unkind, cruel even. They always do eventually, all those who call me friend. For every friendship hinges on that compromise, that turning away, the slightest batting of an eye, the keeping back of a single word. For if we are all complicit together, who can judge? That is what you say, no doubt. That is what everyone says. But who can judge? Well, someone, and I'll tell you who. I must, and not with relish, but with grief. For each judgment made on earth foretastes the endless one to come. But how? How can I not, when from this friendless woman's body there comes such a cry demanding justice that would follow me all the days of my life? Should I ignore it? What shall we do? We shall end this thing. Without flinching, this crime lies at the door of one among us. He must answer. If he will not, we must make him.
Then do it. You heard me. No one's stopping you. Go fling yourself upon them as before and see just how they answer this new faux confession. What will you say? Oh, more. Before I blamed myself, but now I'd like to blame that other fellow. You know, the one who came with me. See, I took a little hike, just as you suggested, and now I saw I had it wrong. Silly error. Anyone might make it. It wasn't me, but him. Forget my tears, the wine upon my breath, and heed that you'll find the doer of the deed. What could they possibly find here to doubt?
It may be as you say. It likely will. In predicting ways and means of men, you are not often wrong. I think you must, Francois, luxuriate in the obscene, spectacle of choice, a spectacle only. In truth, no choice is free. Nothing can be free that is rung upon the mangle of desire, twisting, till there's only one way we can move. Corruption rank around us, creeping through our flesh like ants through earth, our ever-making kingdoms, thrones, seas, and statues, all with death swelling in our veins. And this corruption, you obscene, irreverent villain, would parade before my eyes with gaudy ribbons and with music, would have me laugh and caper with corruption, while my very tongue is foul with it. My nostrils stink of it. And yet, despite all that, there is one thing left that we can do. We can hurl ourselves, despite the mocking of the whole created world, upon grace. Whatever that may be, and whosoever we shall find it, and though at last I turn my back on you, and flee to follow grace, not in hope, nor faith, but terror, I will go, whatever I may find. And may that be accounted in my favor. I don't say farewell nor adieu. I say only that if my quest tonight should fail, and we meet again by chance, I think that all will not go well with you.
Phew. Who'd have thought it? Him so bookishly correct. Nice in every way and then some. And all the while seething with such venom.
The bells.
Every bell ever made, I'd say.
The bells of Shrovetide's ending. Lent. The silent sigh of Lent comes close behind. Listen. Martin's bells are ringing, brother. Cold will dawn this day, and red and dreary light cast full upon the face of foes hid within their ranks. This is the summons, friend. The bells call us to confession now, before the feast is ended. Me, I count this night as dearly bought revelation, realization. I see pride, flightiness, and fright, driving wild the bright chariots of our souls. Long I've slept, long endured anxious dreams, thrashed in throes of my own dignity, and now, bereft of pride, marked for arrest, I wake, and waking, I exult. Sleepers, hark! Hear the bells! What the night that brings such light can be called black? Hear the bells! It is my summons. The trumpet sounds. My general calls. The battle's well begun. Whatever comes, I know where my first loyalty is owed. To God's church, who bids me now make haste to be well shrived. From there, whatever comes is good. Listen, haste. The fast is at the door.
That's it? After all that, they've both gone and left the final word to me? Withdrawn without a fight? Who taught them rhetoric, those babes? What shall I say, since there's no thread of contradiction? I find the stage is mine, and now it's mine. I find I would decline it. For what good is it to speechify without a worthy someone to defy you? I wonder, could those two have punished me through any crueler means than leaving me alone? But I'll play. Through the hoop I'll jump. A night like this demands a summing up, whether on stage or at a tavern door. So what's my scene? A woman dead? A score of night watchmen dismayed? One friend outraged, another friend embroiled, and I, Rabelais, jesting as all sparks fly. Ignatius speaks of battle pitched, and Jean, he hopes I'm killed in it, but I jest on, for jesting's still a noble art, at least as noble as war, or reading creased brooks and dusty halls of learning. Love, wisdom, say I, but not with what's above. She's a pretty girl and ripe. Love her with your body, your skin and bones, the gurgle of your gut. Love her with your rutting heart. We're all little pigs rooting in the dirt after something. The slut, the priest, the lord, magister, mother, student, tenant, doctor, bishop, king, pope. Saints and sinners all. Saints and sinners all rooting in the mud. This slick, thick, sandy, smelly muck made up of sick things, dead things, live things, fat things, fecund too. From muck, mushrooms spring. Hounds and prey flounder together in it. Trees heave up from the muck, then willing drop their seeds. From muck comes vines, then grapes, and then wine. Then we o'erdrink ourselves and send back the muck as spew. From muck comes stem, then leaves, then flowers, then fruit, which we devour. And then from our buttocks shoots. And we, poor things, come from it too. That muck to muck. Muck we are, and to muckiest muck we shall return. But we, unlike the rest of all muck's children, we alone can jest. So come, Lent, bring your fasts, your penance, bring your somber days and long repentance. Weigh down our spirits even unto muck. I'll go with you, and gladly, and be struck a while. For in the mucks, the stuff of ourselves, the fair, the foul, the rough, the smooth, and all the finest jokes, of course, come not from the smoothest parts, but of the coarse. The highest heights of heaven are light, and the finest hearts on earth are light. If he who sits in heaven laughs at us, what else can we do but laugh gratis? And if he who sits in heaven smiles, what can earth do but put aside her wiles and smile too? The world is ours. The world, the flesh, and the devil, and the world, the body, blood, and mind, all ours, all play. This world is ours to save or throw away.